These are 20 lessons from the book Set for Life that will help you save your first $25,000, invest to your next $100,000, and then eventually reach financial independence way before you're 65. These worked for the author, they worked for me, and they can work for you too. The first $25,000 is the hardest. And I can say from experience that is absolutely true. So your number one goal when you're trying to reach financial independence is building up your first $25,000. We're gonna call the financial runway. And it all starts with frugal living. And that's because a dollar saved is actually like $1.33 earned because, you know, taxes. So while earning more money is obviously super important, at the beginning, the most efficient thing that you can do is to lower your expenses as much as possible. While most people might recommend a 10 to 15% savings rate, Scott Trench recommends a 50 to 75% savings rate, which is actually what I did myself at the beginning. This involves taking care of your big three. Now your big three are your housing, your transportation, and then your food. In fact, most people try to cut out the fun stuff at the beginning when they're trying to save money, and that's only about 5% of your budget generally is entertainment. So that should actually be the last thing that you think about cutting. You shouldn't be cutting out, your coffee, you're going out with friends, unless it's to like an extravagant amount. If it's reasonable and you're really enjoying this stuff, it's okay to keep that in your budget. Instead, look at the huge things that could take hundreds or thousands of dollars every single month. So how do you do that? The first way is your vehicle. Scott recommends never buying a new car, trying to buy an older used car that you can buy for cash, because at the end of the day, a car gets you from point A to point B. My first car was a $5,000 Honda Civic. I drove that thing for years, had no monthly payments, the insurance was cheap, the upkeep's really cheap. If you're in those beginning stages, having a car that is not killing you is a complete game changer. And when it comes to food, shopping at a different grocery store, meal planning, cooking at home and going out to eat a lot less, all of those will help you save more money, which at the beginning here is super important. But generally your biggest expense is going to be your housing. So before we get into what he recommends on how you can eliminate that cost entirely in the next step, if you're still at this step of saving up your first $25,000, then he recommends going extreme. That can mean moving back in with your parents, getting a roommate, even if you don't really want one. Learn to DIY things and do it yourself. If you have to pay somebody $150 to do some basic plumbing work, to replace a toilet, to do whatever, if you can learn some of these valuable skills that you'll have forever and save hundreds or even thousands of dollars in the process, over the course of 5 years, DIYing a bunch of things can be a huge change in your finance. Work on your credit score. If you're in the beginning stages, working on your credit score is going to be super helpful, because later on you're going to need that credit score to actually invest and completely change your finance. So if you have a crappy credit score right now, take it extremely seriously and really work on improving that. Buy good enough. This will end up actually saving you a lot of money. So this is that in-between space of buying things that are extremely cheap that you're going to have to fix in a few years because they're cheap, and buying the most expensive version of something because it's the best. Instead, trying to find this middle ground where you're evaluating every purchase that you make with good enough. For me, that meant I never bought the newest iPhone or the newest piece of tech, and instead I found something in the middle, which was like a used Google Pixel that I would buy on Amazon refurbished for like 200 bucks. It did almost exactly all the same things the $1,000 phones did, but it was way cheaper and it made zero difference in my life. Use higher deductible insurance. He recommends doing this because you can control some things. Obviously not everything, but you can control driving safer, eating healthier, not damaging your electronics or whatever you get insurance on, and trying to have those lowest monthly expenses possible, because in the end, for most people, that ends up saving them a decent amount of money. All right, let's talk about the ladder to $25,000. So it starts off with building up a $1,000 to $2,000 emergency fund. You generally want to keep that in a high interest savings account like SoFi, where I keep mine. There's a link below. Then you're going to want to pay off any high interest consumer debt. There's credit card debt. If you have high interest rates on your student loans or your car, paying all of that off, and then eventually building up to save your first $10,000, all the way up to your first $25,000, which will buy you your initial chunk of freedom. This first $25,000 could take anywhere from a year to like 5 years. The more extreme you're willing to go with moving, with downgrading your car, with all of these things, the faster you will get there. And the faster you get there, the faster you get to 100,000 and then eventually to freedom. I think this is the point where you really need to be investing into yourself. It was because I read this book and like 50 other ones that I was able to make a lot of the wiser decisions that I ended up making in hindsight, and not continue to slap my head against the wall making bad decisions. And it was because I took like free mentorship from these books And I'd highly recommend that you do the same thing. The tool I use to do that right now is called Shortform. It's like a book summary app, so you can read a bunch of different books, but not have to like spend 8 hours reading the book. You can just get the really core ideas, kind of like this video, and allow that to change your mindset and like brainwash yourself to being the best version of yourself, which is what I did. I did partner with Shortform as a sponsor of this video because I love them. I listen to their summaries all the time, or I read them. It's one of the main apps I use on my phone. Right now I'm listening to the 12-week year, which is absolutely great. They have books in every category you can think of, like money and finance, self-improvement, sales, psychology. All the big books you've probably been meaning to read are on there. If you want to check them out, go to shortform.com/Gabe or click the link below. You can get 20% off your membership, which is already way cheaper than buying the amount of books that I read on there. So check them out and let's move on. All right, so now you have $25,000, but what the heck do you do with it? Well, this 25K will give you freedom to make a couple decisions that will completely change your finances. The first one is it can give you the freedom to take a step back. Let's say you're earning $50,000 a year right now, and you need every one of those dollars in order to survive. But now you've been making these changes over the past couple of years, you've lowered your expenses. You can actually take an opportunity to step back and maybe earn $30,000 a year or $40,000 a year with the potential to earn much more. Maybe the first year you earn $35,000, the next year you earn $65,000, the next year you earn $110,000. You literally would not have that opportunity if you needed every one of the $50,000 in order to survive. So at this point, you can look for a scalable job, you can move across the country, you actually give yourself more opportunity to get lucky because you put yourself in this position by being a little more frugal and not needing every dollar that you have. You can actually have the potential to earn a lot more now. Then there's the other option, which I did, my brother did. Now we both have been able to leave our day jobs, and that is to invest into a house hack. So a house hack is when you buy a multifamily with 3.5% down, first time home buyer loan. You live in one unit, you rent the other units out, and that allows you to live for free. And the cool thing about this is, once you move out, you'll be able to start making income off that first one, and you can earn money in 3 separate ways. You earn cash flow every single month, as long as you did the math correctly. You build equity in the property without actually having to pay for that equity. Plus you get to take advantage of appreciation, which has been absolutely crazy over the past 5 years. My rentals have like doubled. That's definitely not sustainable, but if you look over the past 100 years, real estate prices tend to go up. Obviously, there's a way more to this. If you guys want to check out some house hacking videos, I've gone way more in detail in the past. Now it's time to shift your focus. Instead of doing the conventional thing, which a lot of people recommend, which is building up, millions of dollars so that you can live off that indefinitely, you're gonna focus on building up monthly income. A really cool tool that I use to kind of see how my monthly choices affect the rest of my choices is this app called WiseFi. It shows the importance of lowering your expenses and how if you need less per month, you'll be able to retire much, much sooner. It's what I've been using to build my budget and stuff. I'll leave a link below if you want to check it out. But the idea here is instead of doing the conventional method, which is building up enough money that you can withdraw a certain amount and never have that money run out, you want to try to build relatively passive income that covers your expenses. So if you need $5,000 a month to live on, you only need to build up $5,000 worth of income from the side to be able to have complete financial freedom without ever having $1 million in the bank, 2 million or 5 million, what these other people kind of shoot for. So that's why kind of frugal living is super important. For me, I kind of followed his strategy of buying my first rental, and then a year and a half later, I bought my second rental, and then about a year later, I'm at my third one right now. And that's allowed me to live for free for like the past 5+ years, plus make money every month, plus build equity and all these other things, and allowed me to be able to step back from a job where I was really capped at and actually invest time into something that had a potential to earn more money without actually having to earn that much money, because it doesn't take a lot for us to survive. If you don't want to go the real estate route, there is starting a business route, there's investing. He recommends just investing in high cost index funds. And while a lot of people do think that investing is risky, there's 100% risk that you're gonna have to work at your job till you're 65 if you don't take any of these extreme measures. So I think, the choice is kind of yours. Do you wanna build this path to financial freedom, really sacrifice for a couple of years so that you can have freedom in 5 to 10 years? Or do you just wanna chill, continue working, not really have that freedom, but maybe you don't have to sacrifice? Like, that's totally fine. It's a whole different route. But for me, this is almost the exact strategy that I took. I couldn't be more grateful that I make those sacrifices, and I'd highly recommend it. If you want to read more finance books like this, check out Shortform with the link below. Also, YouTube thinks that you will like this video right here. So you should probably watch it, because YouTube can't be wrong. It can't be. It's AI. Is it AI? I don't know how they make. How do they make that? How do they know?